Welcome to Film School Friday. I'm Corey,
I'm Bill.
and together,
We host the Unfocused podcast, Film School Fridays.
Film School Friday is our special weekly episode where we try to pass along just a little bit of our wisdom, to
Little
you.
knowledge.
Yeah,
We're like mentors in a way.
yeah. Let us
If
be.
you want us
let
to
us
be.
be your podcast mentors.
Yeah.
That's
And
up to you.
If you don't like it, turn it off.
No, don't do that.
No, don't do that.
Don't ever say that again.
At least give us a 5-star rating.
Thank you for tuning in today. We appreciate you. Bill, today, on today's Film School Friday, I would like to talk about creating commercial content. Maybe it's a small business commercial. Maybe it's a little clip to promote some other service or goods, whatever that might be. Just generally speaking, like what all goes into creating a commercial clip for a client?
So much like corporate content, where, these are good things that you can get into when you're starting out, or if you're just getting into freelancing. Corporate content tends to come a little easier because there's more of it available. Businesses, when it comes to making commercials and advertisements, a lot of times they're looking for something more specific. They're a little more budget conscious than your regular corporate content. But still, if you can get into it, it's lucrative work, and you can make some lasting relationships with those businesses and kind of keep on getting hired. So it's always a good thing to take on. And I will say another difference too is when it comes to advertisements, creativity is a lot of times welcome. Whereas with corporate content, it's a little more straightforward. It can be a little dry. Advertising, these are businesses that want their product to pop. They want what they're selling to stick out. And they're looking to you and other creatives to come up with, a great treatment, a great idea that's going to make that what they're selling pop. And so a lot of my early work early on was advertisements for little local businesses and things. Some I was proud of, and some I will never talk about ever again.
Come on.
Come
on, give us the scoop on just one.
Those who know. That's all I'm gonna say. Zach Adams. One of the things that I like to cite is an advertisement I did fairly recently for Random House, Penguin Random House, the book publishing company. I did a book trailer for a book that one of their authors had written, Brooks Benjamin, and it was an interesting situation because a lot of times these big companies they'll sometimes go through an agency, and then the agency hires their people to put this advertisement together, come up with the treatment, have a few meetings, get the budget hashed out, and then make it happen. In this case, Penguin Random House basically went to the author and said, we will fund this, but if you can find the person, that would be great to do this.
Really?
Yeah. And so lo and behold, the author came to me because he had seen Hear Me Now, and he had seen how I had directed children in the reenactments in that film. And this was a preteen type book called My 7th Grade Life in Tights. And so he liked the style of my previous work and hired me. And so that involved then me meeting with him, the author, to get his take on what he was looking for. How do you want to sell your book? What's your vision? Who are these characters? Because I didn't actually have a copy of the book, but he did give me like a document with a rundown of what the book was about. And then he and I communicated quite a bit. And that's something I like to do. I like to do that when it comes to music videos, which we'll get into. I like to meet with the actual creator. There's other people involved, like, Random House, sometimes managers, people like that. And that's fine. But I ultimately, as a creative, I want to speak to another creative and really get their feeling, get their take on what they're looking for. And of course, you don't ignore the manager. You don't ignore the company that's writing the check. You bring them in as well. There's a balance that you strike between understanding the artist's vision and then what they want from a marketing and business standpoint. And so you have to marry those two together as the person who's hired. And then the process is you write up a treatment, after you speak with the author, after you understand what the larger client is looking for, You write up a treatment, you present that treatment to the interested parties. They sign off on it, or they, say, change this, tweak that. What if we did this? Blah, blah, blah. For this book trailer, the treatment was, I communicated very heavily with the author, so the treatment was exactly what he was looking for. And I relied on him to obviously be the expert on his book. And, that informed everything. That informed the casting. When we went to cast the kid who was going to play the lead in this book, I asked the author, I said, what does this character look like? Describe to me who this character is. And so we brought in a number of people and auditioned them, put them on tape. I sent that to the author. The author was like, this kid is great. And so we hired that kid, and then we went out and shot the commercial. And it was a 1-day shoot, like 12 to 16-hour day. And, once the author actually came out to set, which that's sometimes something that can happen too. The client shows up on set, that could be nerve-wracking for some people, because there are some directors I know that don't particularly like the client watching over their shoulder. But hey, they're paying you. Let them be there. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So author came out, was super cool. Just delighted to see his vision coming to life, which makes you feel good, because it makes you feel like, oh, I'm nailing it. I've got it. I understand his vision, and I'm bringing it to life for him. And then, of course, once it's in the can, there's the editing process. There's sending the cut over to the author. There's sending the cut to the larger client, in this case, Random House, getting notes, going back to the edit, tweaking those notes, tweaking the cut based on the notes, and then, sending it back, et cetera, until you get a finished product. And for commercials, there's the standard stuff you have to put in at the end a lot of times. These are normally 30-second spots, nothing any longer than that. And then you put in all the relevant information at the very end, the logos, the website addresses. In this case, for this book, it was release dates, and it was where you can find it, paperback, hardcover, etc. So that's some other things you have to add to your cut. But you're doing a 30-second advertisement, something quick, something creative. Get it out there. It's very collaborative.
Awesome. So, like, one of the common themes that I think shows up across multiple types of work, but is probably most prevalent in this commercial space, is the pre-production meeting, the alignment of really the treatment. And I think both in pre-production and post-production, something to be prepared for, sounds like, is notes from the client on specifically like feedback on either tweaks to the treatment or feedback and tweaks to the edit, right?
Yes.
Both things to be prepared for. And
it's, depending on the client you're working with, that can either go really smoothly. You get one note and this is awesome. Or which, that happens sometimes. Or you get a client who's got a 1,000,001 notes, and you're basically having to recut the entire thing. And that happens too. And it can be frustrating. It can be super frustrating. But you got to remember who's paying the bills. You don't want to bite the hand that feeds you.
That's right.
You want to be fair and, do as they ask. And a lot of times that might upset your vision a little bit that you had. But, again, they're writing the check. Take a deep breath.
It'll be okay.
Think of the money.
Think of the money.
And who knows, it might end up being something you're really proud of.
I'm sure it will be. You should be proud of everything you make, even if it sucks.
Be proud of the experience you had.
Yes. Awesome. All right, Bill, as always, thank you so much for all of the wonderful insight. For our listeners, make sure you check us out on Instagram at InFocusPod or online at InFocusPodcast.com. And if you like what you heard today, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us out a ton.
It really does.
And until next time,
feed your crew
something delicious.
Very delicious.